Namaste. Welcome to the Conscious Convo podcast. I am your host and teacher, Pippa Leslie. I'm here to share everything I learn, see, and channel. This podcast is for the conscious and curious beings who are ready to dive deeper into spirituality. I am so grateful you are here. Hi guys, welcome back. So again, I'm excited today to come to talk to you. I've got two guests with me today, which is a first for me. So I'm excited and also bringing something to you that I've not done before. I'm with Michelle again from the Crystal Point. That's the crystal shop in Hamilton where I now live. As you all know, I emigrated to New Zealand May of 2022. I've also got Jocelyn Te Kanawa. She is a reader and a healer doing intuitive readings for the Crystal Point. So I'm going to be talking to her as well. But first, Michelle is back from the Crystal Point and I just want to say hi to her again.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I found Michelle because I was looking for crystals when I got to New Zealand, obviously, to get my little altar set up in the house. And I came across Michelle because someone recommended her to me. So we've become good friends and I've been coming here quite a lot, so it's good to talk to her. But I wanted to bring in Jocelyn today because she is part of the readers and the healers that Michelle will have at the shop, weekly and monthly, things like that. So it's good to have her perspective and to bring her energy here as well. So I'm excited to talk to her. So Michelle, what's been going on over the last couple of days? I know you mentioned when I come in the shop, the energy's been a bit
Yeah, so I'm sure there's other people that may be able to relate. I've just found it really hard to connect energy and information. So, you know, whether it's preparation for talks like today or whether it's just processing the information throughout the day, it's just been like sort of sharp arrows or something coming in and just trying not to be affected by it.
Yeah, I think it's like the flow. Like I felt like that. I think because I've if you can tell, my voice is a little bit because I've got my hay fever that's been going on the last few days, and that's knocked me off as well. Like trying to meditate when you've got a blocked nose can be quite hard sometimes. So that can be
much fun.
So when you kind of feel out of flow, you feel funky, don't you?
Yeah. It'd be nice to be level all the time, but we need to recognise that it's quite normal to have our energy go up and down. But if we're aware of it and we know other people are going through it, then we can move forward and just understand, okay, maybe today I'm not going to get as much done as what I normally do. Have to put some things on the back burner and just accept that that's how it is today. Yeah,
that's a good advice to give, like I said, with people who are going through that. If you are going through that kind of, your energy doesn't feel great, we're just talking about it before we press record. Sometimes the energy's off and you feel off, and just to know you're not alone, you know, reach out to your spiritual girlfriends, your spiritual community, because they're probably going through something similar. And it's interesting because I've felt like that a few times, you know, especially coming to a new country and not having loads of friends, meeting new friends and people in New Zealand. You know, sometimes when I felt lonely, you know, Chris is at work all day when I first got here and I'm like, I want him to be at home all day. So remembering that you aren't alone, just reach out to people who you trust and love, and they'll probably say, you know what, I'm going through that too. I'm glad you reached out to me.
And a really good thing to do too is having a bath.
Yeah, we just talked about having a bath.
Whether you use Himalayan salt or Epsom salt, just use the best of whatever you've got available to you, and just taking that time out. I know for me this morning, and because Trevor's home full time now since he's given up his job to come work with me at the shop, I wasn't coping, and with him being in my energy in the room as well, so I just excused myself and said, look, I'm going to go have a bath. I just need to go. And so I ran a bath with Epsom salt and just enjoyed that for about 20 minutes and then came out refreshed. I felt cleared. And I also find after a salt bath is I feel like I'm actually now standing on the earth. Yeah. That I'm actually grounded and connected and centered.
Yeah. I know you wanted to talk about some of the crystals as well in the shop and the different things you've got in the shop. You know, like that's see with me, I've never really gone down crystals as much. I just love looking at them, all the sparkly ones and the pink ones. So if someone was coming into the shop and they, you know, what are some things that you could help people with? I know you wanted to talk about it today, but the things you had that you mentioned before.
Yeah, so a little bit of information about choosing crystals. People often come in and they don't know whether they want something smooth, tumbled or raw. So just a brief summary, if your clusters, for example, are really good at radiating energy and charging other crystals. So for example, I like to have a clear quartz cluster, one at home, one at the shop. If any crystals don't feel quite right, I can do simple things like just place that crystal into the cluster. We also have moon water in our shed, so if something's really bad, like the other day we had a customer come in and he wanted us to cleanse one of his crystals, and as soon as I saw the crystal I could feel the energy on it, and I said, hang on a moment, let me go get you a bottle of moon water, and I gifted him some water to take home with instructions on how to cleanse his crystal, because I didn't feel that crystal I needed to be a part of the energy. So clusters are really, really good. A lot of people use selenite plates to put crystals on. That works as well. Points and towers, they're really good generators and transmuting of negative energy back to source. So people often with a tower visualize the energy being sucked up through the bottom of it, like as in, whether it's a tower or a pyramid, it absorbs the negative energy in the room and then shoots it back to source. So the point on the top. Raw crystals have overall strong energies because they've had less man touch, rolling. When things are tumbled, they do have grits and things that they use. So they look pretty, so it depends on what you like. Double terminated help you connect your energy to spirit and earth. If a crystal's got 1 point, if you face it downwards, it helps earth you. If it's got 2, then you're connecting your spiritual self and your human self and bringing in that balance. So a lot of pendants are double terminated. Let's just say tumbled and multi-purpose. And then you get crystals like palm stones and flat stones, which are really good as worry stones. Like if you've got a stressful job, stressful family, children, having one in your pocket. A lot of women keep them in their bras. And they're also really good for using with massage oil. And then colours, when it comes to choosing a colour, so you think of if you're buying it for yourself or someone else, I say to people, relate it to a garden, relate it to flowers. So if you think of something parallel to the crystal, it makes it easier to make a decision. So if you were going into a garden centre and you were choosing a pot plant, what colour flower does that plant have? And to me, that leads you to what colour crystal you need. So even though you might say you need a yellow one for your sacral chakra, but you don't know, is that block there in that point, or is that block actually the reason you've got a sore finger? So we have your energy running through your body. It's not necessarily going to be at that particular point for that chakra because it flows through the entire body. So, and then you talk about pain and everything, which is a different subject, but you have spiritual pain and human pain. So the crystals can help you with spiritual pain. And it's all about trust, being open or neutral. So you don't have to believe that crystals might help or do help with your spiritual energy, but it's being open that they could help you. And if they can help with your spiritual energy, then it makes you feel better. They don't replace doctors, of course. We still need doctors and holistic health, etc. But the crystals work on that spiritual level. So it helps unblocking energy in your body. So I believe select the crystal through one of those sort of ways. We're happy to help you with that. And read the meaning later. So often people come in and go, I want for this reason. Whereas if we can let go of that want and tune more into what are we connecting to, what colour flower, what are we drawn to, what's our favourite clothing, what colours are we wearing the most, that tells you where the blocks are and what crystal you need.
Yeah, that's like me learning off you right now as well, because I think when I ever chose crystals, I would feel into the body where I felt it in the body. And then go from there, really, because again, I wear them in bras and things like that. So I think crystals, with what I do, Reiki healing, like that's probably why they use them a lot more too, isn't it? Because it's again that stagnant energy that's in the body. It helps to remove them, because I always get my clients to hold the rose quartz and the clear quartz in the hand, so that's helping the energy move in the body. Well, I think a lot of my Reiki healer friends would have crystal healing under the belt as well to help them, to add to the modality. what you've just given there, I've never really heard it that way, so it's just great to have that knowledge. Yeah. And I think, again, if you think about going to a garden centre, I would always go for like the pinks and the purples, you know, the really bright, vibrant colours, because they're my favourite colours. So, well,
your pinks, your self-love and your self-confidence, and your purples is a nice calming, it's also very protective.
Yeah, and it really resonates with me. So, yeah, thanks for those tips.
You're welcome.
So, Joycee, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So, what's your take on crystals?
I love crystals.
Yeah.
I also make crystal pendants.
Is that moonstone?
No, that's blue gold.
Not moonstone. Yeah, I've actually got a little tumblestone of that. Actually, I've just realised it's just sparkly.
Chakra today. So I'm communicating.
I love it. Yeah, it's great. I didn't think about that, actually wearing more of the blues when it's coming down to communicating. It's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's what I've needed at the moment. Speak my truth.
Yeah, speak truth. Yeah,
definitely.
And you got a bit of clear quartz in there to amplify it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like when we say with Reiki healing, if you want to work on something, you wear the colour. You know, wear more of the colour because it helps. I never thought about that, actually. Just don't want to do interviews. Can you please wear blue?
Yeah.
You're like representing. So I have to ask you this first, Joycee, because as my listeners know, I've only been in New Zealand 8 months and I'm still getting used to the Maori culture and I'm fascinated with it. And I've had lives, and I've had Polynesian lives, past lives. So that's why I've always been drawn to, like, you know, Moana and all the Aborigine and the Maori cultures.
Beautiful.
So tell me about Mirimiri, because I know it's the Maori healing.
Right.
And my first Reiki student that I taught here mentioned this, and I was like, oh, so how did you get into this? Was it something that you've known from a young age?
Yeah. Can I first just introduce myself?
Yeah, of course.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Jocelyn Te Kanawa tōku ingoa, he uri au no ki te tau tōku mama, he uri au no Ngāti Maniapoto, me Ngāti Hikairo, ki te taha o tōku papa, he uri au no Te Whakatōhea, me Ngāti Pikiao. Kia ora, my name's Jocelyn Te Kanawa. On my mum's side, I'm from Ngāti Maniapoto and Ngāti Hikairo, and on my dad's side, I'm from Te Whakatōhea and Ngāti Pikiao. Mirimiri. Mirimiri is a form of Māori healing. It's more, it can be physical touch, it can be spiritual, it can be cover mental, and so for myself, I use Te Whare Tapawha, which is your spiritual, your physical, your mental, or your tinana, which is the physical, which is your body, and whānau. So for me, whānau will cover also relationships. And that, and whānau means family.
I know that one. I remember that one from my stepchildren taught me.
Nice. Aye, so Mirimiri healing covers that. Everyone brings a different story to the table. You don't always have to be lying on a table. You can sit in a chair or wherever you're comfortable. And first off, you'll have a kōrero. So we will speak to each other and find out what it is. So I'll tune in and connect in with your spirit or your guides. Your guides will meet my guides beforehand, and just to make sure it's right. And then when we go through the session, I will get messages on how I can help you, or I will allow you to tell me your story and what you would like help with, and I will go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever story you bring to the table is what I will work on, whether it's physical touch. Some people don't like to be touched physically, and that's fine. We can do energy, and also cover just kōrero, like speaking to each other to help you de-stress or relieve what it is that you've come for on that day. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of like Reiki healing because it's the energy as well. But I think one thing that was fascinating me was all these different cultures have their own form of healing. And I think I mentioned to Michelle in the last episode, I've just studied my second Reiki, which is Egyptian Reiki.
Nice.
Because I love Egyptian history, and I remember saying to myself, I was meditating and I was trying to call in some, Egyptian goddesses, and I was like, this like Sekhem was coming through, and I was like, I've never heard of you. Like, who are you? And I felt really ignorant. Like, and I'm the goddess of healing, and obviously we all give healing, and Hathor can be healing, and all these ones. But she said, look into it, and I kind of Googled it, and I said, I've never even heard of it, and I typed in Egyptian Sekhem healing, and it all came up.
Yes.
So it was like the power of that message came through, and I think I always thought, I'd never thought about, obviously the Egyptians were healers and they had their own healing modality, but I never thought about it until that moment. So it just, when I kind of been able to understand your way of healing in this culture, it just fascinates me because everyone has their own. That's what I love about different cultures. That's why I love travel. And
with every practitioner that practices Mirimiri, we all have our different gifts.
Yeah.
So when I learned, one of the ladies, she could see meridians in the body, and so it's like fixing that meridian line within the body, connecting, make sure it's connected, all cut off. Another lady, she would use energy, and she worked with feathers and her hands a lot over the body. And with myself, I could feel when I started back in 2015, I could feel how the person was feeling. I could feel where they were in pain in their body, and go from there. But as I progress, other gifts have opened. Like now I can see, now I still feel, but sometimes I touch that off, I switch that off so that I can use my other senses, like even taste and smell. So bringing all those other senses in as well, because as each person comes and the more people we work on, the more gifts that come through in the session. Yeah. So we're learning, we're always learning. So every practitioner has their gifts and different gifts that they bring to the session. Yeah. And generally those that come to the session are who are guided to you and for you to help them along their way.
Yeah. It's like a beautiful thing to remember that the right people find you on the healing path. And like that's something that I always remember is like, I want to go out and help all these people, but sometimes you got to sit back and allow them to come to you. It's what they teach us in Reiki. You can't go out and say, can I heal you? Because that's like not how it works, because they may not want the healing. So it's being just standing there with your light, isn't it? And letting your light shine. And like you said, speaking your truth. And then people go, oh, you know what? I like Joycee, I like Michelle, I like Pip, and I'm going to go to see them. And that's the beauty of our gifts, isn't it? And I always say to people who are listening that everyone has a gift. And that to remember that, because I've had clients and friends over the years that I wish I was gifted and I wish I had psychic abilities or whatever it is, and I say, but you've got your own gift and your gift can be different. I do believe we're all healers in our own way.
It's like nurturing a baby when the baby's born and we cuddle them, or just hugging a person, that's energy. That's an energy exchange, or helping someone, or just talking to them and lifting them up. That's healing.
Like I said, it's using your uniqueness. So I'm very much into energy and where we came from, and your voice is healing, like you said. Your touch is healing. Just your presence is healing. And that's what I said, like, even if you don't think you've got these psychic abilities, like everyone wants these psychic abilities all the time, it's like, but the thing is, you are always connected. You've got this claircognizance where you've got intuition, you've got knowing, it's connecting to it. It's like a muscle, isn't it? Like you said, you can't just go to the gym and expect to be fit after one day. You've got to work. With like you said, the more you've done this work, Joycee, it's like you've become, you said you smell and you clairalience and you sentience and what's the other one? There's claircognizance, clairaudience, clairvoyance. There's all these different gifts, and I always say to everyone when I do my podcast as well, like, I'm not special. I'm just Pip, and I'm on this planet, and I'm unique. But so are you all listening. You're all unique. You have your uniqueness, and you have your own personality. You have your gifts. You have your story. I think we mentioned this last time, Michelle. Like, people buy into your story. They resonate with you because, I've been through something similar, or I like Pip's story about this or that. And again, with your story, Michelle, everyone's got a uniqueness to them, and that's what everyone likes, that resonating energy, and that comes from our tribe, doesn't it? Our DNA is from tribal times, and that's what fascinates me about like the old cultures and the tribes.
When people do come and they're not from me, I refer them. It's like, no, you need to go here. This person can help you so much more. Great.
Yeah, like I said, I always say, if you don't resonate with someone, find someone you do resonate with, because it can make such a difference.
Definitely.
Like I said, like that's where you get to a point where you think, it's like, it is standing your truth, isn't it?
Definitely.
Like, you want to help so many people, but you can't help everyone. And if like, it's like for me, I say, go see Joycee, go see Michelle. Like, someone came to me and said, Pip, can you help with crystals? go to Michelle. Because it's like, I'd love to be able to go and research it, but that's the point of it. And I think some lady actually reached out to me about doing a podcast interview, and she said, can we talk about crystals? And I was like, there's not much I can say about crystals. I know bits about my favourites, and I know I know a little bit, but I don't know a lot. And that's just because it's not one of my topics that I could talk hours and hours and hours about. And that's the point. That's the whole point, isn't it?
Definitely.
So there is something else I wanted to ask you about that, actually. This grandmother energy, because I've seen the last 3 or 4 weeks, there's been a lot about grandmother. Like, I don't have my grandparents around anymore, and I felt her a lot the last few weeks. And I called her in because, like, I know she's around, but sometimes they just need that. Can you show me around, please? Can you let me know you're around? And it was like 2 weeks ago, I was sat I woke up early before the kids to do meditation in the lounge, and I just felt her. I could smell her, feel her. I felt like I could touch her, and I couldn't stop crying all day. I was in tears all day, and what I found, I kept apologising for crying. Oh, I'm sorry, and even my partner said, "Why are you apologising for crying? You're feeling it. You miss your grandmother." And my other grandparent, she died when I was 10, so it wasn't as recent. But yeah, this grandmother energy and the gifts we get passed down. I don't know about you, Joycee and Michelle, but like, there's this big emphasis right now for healing. Heal, 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 heal. And I totally agree with it. But what about your strengths and your gifts and your traits and what makes you beautiful? Like, a lot of women that I've worked with, they're wanting to heal so badly, they're forgetting like how amazing they already are. And I think that grandmother energy reminds me of that, because how many times would your grandmother or grandparents say, they always lift you up? Yeah. Especially my grandparents, they were always saying, how gifted you are and how beautiful you are. And whenever I passed an exam, she get me these little clever clog things, just like cuteness of it. But I know not everyone has a beautiful connection with grandparents or, great grandparents. It depends on, how your family dynamics was. But I just think grandmothers come up for me a lot. So with this grandmother energy, what is your take on it, with like being passed down, especially with the culture?
I was brought up with my grandparents, and my grandmother was the matriarch of the whānau, so she ruled everything. She was really tough, really tough. You worked, that's how you showed love. So as soon as you get up, you make your bed, everything like that, like everything was routine. As soon as you eat, you cleaned up, and the girls actually took over the household chores plus outside. So we also did that as well. But she knew I always was with her, because she knew I had these gifts. I didn't realise, but she knew. And at that stage, looking back, I didn't realise that she actually would whisper in my ear certain things, ask me questions, and I'll answer them without even realising it. But she passed when I was 14, and then when I re-awoken and got back into and learnt healing and Rongoā Māori, she actually come back, and she was my main spirit guide. And so she helped me along that path until a few months ago, probably about 4 months ago, when I realised that I had to stand on my own, and I actually had to cut her energy, like the old energy though, because she was of that old energy, and with that come control. So I had to actually cut that. It was really hard. She didn't want me to do that, so I went through a hard time, and I was probably out for two weeks where I couldn't really walk much. So after I managed to clear that, like, she's still there, but not on the forefront like she used to be. It's like, for me, it's funny I've mentioned that because it was come up for a reason. It's like, that's the earthly energy you had to cut. Her, like, etheric energy is the one you need, isn't it? Because she's gone to that unconditional love, like back to source, and that's like, you got to cut the earthly 3D energy of how how she was. Because again, when they go back up to spirit, it's now it's fine. The connection's a lot more better now. And I am fully in control of me. Standing in truth. Truth. That's the last few years have been about truth, hasn't it? Like standing in your truth, and letting go of that old energy and going forward, so we can help so much more people. Another that I'm really intrigued about, and I'll ask you about this, Michelle, as well, is what's the culture around like death and where you go after? Like, what's the whole process with that? Like, it's like I said, the spiritual side, like what do you
what's the belief, you know, with like, is there any gods, goddesses, things like that, like what for the culture in itself?
For myself and my family, so we always, so when they pass, it's from them, we never allow our bodies to pāpaku,
Okay.
what we call our whānau or people we know that pass. So we never allow them to be alone.
Yeah.
So there's always someone with them all the time, unless they have to go to the morgue. And
Mm-hmm.
generally, if they allow us to, we will dress them
Mm-hmm.
and we will take them from there. So because of colonisation and everything, and church, so a lot of Māori families still practice, like, we will have karakia, like prayer and things like that, and have like a service before we leave the morgue.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose there's a service as soon as they pass to when they go, so it's all about doing a karakia from when they pass.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's saying goodbye, and I suppose just saying goodbye all the time. So when they generally have just passed, we'll say goodbye, take them to the morgue, but we'll always try to be with them wherever they go. We don't leave them alone. And then when they do get, the undertaker does their job, we'll come out, have another prayer with them, family will come in, and then we might have a little service from there and then take them back to either our house, their house, or the marae. And then there's another pōwhiri process from there onto taking them back to the marae and having them there for a few days, however many days people want to keep them. And then we generally have a last service, and then from there going to bury.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we lay them finally to rest. People have their final, you know, goodbyes.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a kaihakari after that for everybody, which is food that we, like a feast. And then some families will have like a party afterwards and some don't.
Yeah.
I prefer not to. I'm like, I don't drink, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Yeah, I prefer just to clean up the marae, let's go.
Yeah,
But you know, you've got to still look after the workers. I'll put in a shout for the workers or whatever. But yeah. And then there we will go and bless the house. Yeah. And trance the house. And then so that's doing another like karakia in there around the house, bless the house. Yeah.
It's kind of like, so does the culture kind of, does the soul go back to the universe? Is that kind of,
definitely. Usually it's I think it's 7 days. I think it's 7 days they come back and visit. But even before that, now that I'm more, I suppose, into spirituality, for me it's they could visit whenever they want, as soon as they pass or whatever. Now that I'm more open, like,
it's just interesting how it's just every culture is different, isn't it? That's what I love about it, is like we all have, and that's why I talk about it, because of how unique each of us are, and that we have to respect each other's.
Definitely. And for me, it's making sure that they go into the light. They go into the light, nothing more, nothing less. Like, we've just been chatting to my youngest stepchild, and he's 7, and it's just beautiful how he, like, you know, talks about heaven, and it's just beautiful. Like, you know, just like nice, just he's so innocent and so open.
I
love it.
Because I was like, you can picture however you want heaven to be. He's like, really? I'm like, it can be however you want it to be. You can have your theme park, you have a big waterfall, you can go to the beach. He's like, oh, that's cool, and you can see him thinking about it. It's just, I just think it's really cute. What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, I don't really deal very well with that. Yeah. And nor does my son. My youngest is absolutely terrified of when he thinks of death. Yeah. And me, I like to enjoy the time of them being around and prior. Like when my grandma passed, I personally, I don't feel like I need to be at the funeral. Yeah. I feel, but you know, I know and understand it's respect to be there, but I think it's the importance of being involved before. And I guess my son and I probably have, you know, a few things in common. I don't really cope with death. I understand the spiritual side of it,
but the human 3D self's hard.
Yeah, I don't deal with the human side very well. I remember sitting with my grandma when she was about to pass, and she was just lying there with her eyes closed, and I spiritually spoke to her.
Yeah.
And then she just opened her eyes and stared at me. And I knew she was going to pass that night. Whereas my mum wasn't aware.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything to mum. I just knew that Grandma and I had a connection. I knew she was going to go, but I was at peace because I had spent that time before she left us.
Yeah.
And the whole funeral thing, I really don't. It's for me. I don't like to. I just can't.
The energy kind of goes.
I don't cope. I mean, I did sit with a Maori friend who had passed in the room with her. It was the very first time I'd ever been with a body. And I wanted the experience, so I knew what it was like. My husband didn't. He stayed away. And I could understand and respect the way other cultures look after their loved ones when they pass. But I had that gap with me. I can deal with the spiritual part at the beginning and the end and the connecting with them. And it's like today in this beautiful cabin that we do our readings and healings, there's things from people who have passed. Like the red chair was my granddad's. And when readers used to first come in here and do readings, one of them said to me, "Oh, your granddad told me to get off his lap." So I can cope with that side of it, but the human side of it.
It's just so interesting how we're talking now and how the conversation goes like, woo, like
did brought up with if someone dies, it was like, even though it was Pody, it was sad. We don't leave them alone, so that's how I was brought up. So I'm used to it. And I didn't know any better. Although I did have been to a service with other people, and they just leave their whānau member at the morgue or the chapel where they keep them. And to me, that was like, but you've got like, because we stay with them. It was just unusual, weird for me to walk away. And just leave them. Because we usually stay with them, and there's always someone with them.
It's just so interesting. That's what I love about these topics. They just flow in the right way. Like they're not, because we didn't even speak about, like at the beginning, should we talk about death and what's the process of it? Like it's just,
I would have been no thank you.
That's what I'm saying. But when it flows, it's actually, it just comes, and that's what I love about ebb and flow. It's like it just naturally went to this topic. So should we talk about birth? So I know you do readings and healings for the Crystal Point. So if anyone wanted to book in with you, Joycee, would they have to go on the Crystal Point shop? Is that correct?
Yes.
There's one way, yes.
Yeah.
Automatic through our services page.
Yeah.
You can see when Joycee's available, what days and times.
Yes. Yeah. I'm thinking about whether I should ask Joycee the questions I asked you on the last one, because I didn't give her them little hints. So I ask every single person who comes on, Joycee, these 3 questions at the end of an interview. They're not exam questions, don't worry. They're just intuitive answers from yourself. So the first one is, if you had a magic wand, how would you use it to save our world?
I'd use it for peace.
Yeah.
Peace on earth.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Amazing. I love that answer. Short and sweet.
Yep. It's me. With a little bit of laugh.
And a little sprinkle dust.
Yep.
The second question is, what are 3 things people can do right now to raise their consciousness?
3 things like you can do to raise your consciousness. Self-love. To raise your vibration. Look after yourself. Like that self-love. Looking after yourself physically, mentally, spiritually. And ground yourself.
Talking about grounding, sorry, just to go back to what you said about the tumblestones that haven't been touched much, and you said there's minerals in them. Is that what you mentioned about? Is it the tumblestone? Oh, the raw stones. Yeah. So I just thought about it when you were talking about, Michelle, the raw stones. You said they've not been touched much, so they're very good for grounding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my favourite grounding crystal would be a piece of raw smoky quartz.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually not got a smoky quartz, so maybe I should need one.
Because a lot of time when we're not happy with being on Earth, because you know, we're told our purpose before we're born here, but we forget when you're born. And often when we're uncomfortable with where our human life is going, we're not fully present in our body.
Mm-hmm.
So to bring the spiritual self back connected with the human self, having a piece of smoky quartz helps that connection.
Yeah, because sometimes when you've been meditating for half an hour and you're like, I don't want to go back to my body, please. I want to stay in this realm, please.
It's like when people are on the table doing from when I'm giving them a healing, like doing Mirimiri.
Yeah.
It's like I've got to ground them.
Yeah.
And I keep telling them, when you get up, just sit up slowly, stay there for a while, and then 2 feet touch the ground at the same time.
Yeah.
But sit there for a while to make sure that you've grounded.
Yeah. I've been doing that with clients from home. When I've finished a Reiki session, I'll take them outside and we'll just hold hands, socks off, on the grass. Sometimes I'll wash their feet, like that's again intuitively, like randomly I'll just want to wash their feet, and they're like, I love this, because obviously like washing feet's very sacred and things like that. So I think it is important to ground yourself, especially when you are doing spiritual work, because we did come here to have a human experience after all.
Definitely.
And drinking of water.
Yes. Can you drink moon water?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I was thinking
I
that.
haven't tried that. I've been into the crystals.
That'd be good for cleansing.
As alcohol.
Yeah. The last question, Joycee, is if you had the whole world at your attention right now, what would you say to them?
Be kind.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Be kind, yeah.
And love.
Mm.
Love is the most powerful power that you can possess.
It is, yeah. I think that's what we all want.
Sprinkle that shit everywhere, sorry.
I know. Yeah, we can do. Yeah, you do. I said, like, I think deep down, that's what we truly want, is love, and that's who we are, is love. Yes. And I think I said when we're born, we forget it, that we're actually just our love. Definitely. So, is there anything else you wanted to mention before we say goodbye for the day until the next time? Any of the messages coming through? If not, totally fine. The audience can wait if you need a few minutes.
I did have something come through and then I lost it.
There's that flow.
I was thinking this is fun, the three of us doing this, we'll have to do it more often.
I like it because it's just literally like having a conversation between friends. You know, you could even do a group. It's not hard to do, and it brings different people's experience and perspective. Yeah. Yes, and I really hope you've enjoyed it as well. It's gone so fast talking to you, like it really has. Like we're nearly at 40 minutes. I'm like, what? So if you are in New Zealand, Hamilton especially, and you want to book in with Joycee, you can go onto the Crystal Point website. I know you also have other healers and readers on the website as well, so you can find them all on there. Yeah. Find someone you resonate with, find a healer, find a reader. And if you have any questions, reach out to Michelle. Reach out to Joycee as well. I'm sure she'll be happy to ask questions, whatever you need. Definitely. And I'm just excited this is like a new thing for me. I've never done two. You know, I've never interviewed two people. I don't know why. I was obviously saving it for here. And if you have any questions, guys, you know, for any of us, just please reach out. Really hope you've enjoyed learning more about the Maori culture as I have, and the crystals. I feel like I'm walking away like I've learned a lot today, which is just great. I love it because I'm normally the teacher and I'm being the student today. I just loved it. From each other. Yeah, we do. So, as always, guys, please share this with your family and friends, and please leave a 5-star review, and we'll be back soon with another episode. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Happy day.